Welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. Here now is your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce.
Hello and welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections. I'm your host, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce, Chad Amond. I am delighted to have on the show today Linda Skodak. Linda is a volunteer with a program that has significant impact on our community, APPRISE and RSVP. Linda, thanks very much for being on the show.
I thank you for having me. I look forward to the opportunity.
Well, the first question that I always ask the guests is, what is your connection and what is your connection with Westmoreland County, and how did you make your connections with RSVP and APPRISE?
Well, I am a Westmoreland County resident, have been for most of my lifetime. And when I retired from my job as a banker, which I spent most of my career working on, then I was looking for volunteer opportunities. So RSVP is the perfect place to find a volunteer opportunity, and that led me to APPRISE.
Well, I guess for the listeners, we need to understand what is RSVP? I mean, I know the acronym is Retired Senior Volunteer Program, but what exactly is RSVP?
Well, it's kind of in the name. A lot of people think RSVP, they're responding to an invitation. In this case, it's for retired people 55 or over. And oftentimes, when someone retires, they want to volunteer for something, and they just don't know where to begin. I don't know. I kind of know what I want to do, or I don't know what I want to do. I just want to do something. So RSVP is the perfect place to go, because what they do is they work with volunteer agencies who are desperately needing volunteers because they're so busy trying to run their operations most of the time. They don't really have the time or the money to recruit. So RSVP is kind of the database of people looking for opportunities, and we match those up with the volunteer agencies and try to find out what a good fit is for the person and for the agency.
Well, with the chamber working on the comprehensive plan for the county and understanding all the demographic information, we understand that one of the struggles and one of the benefits of Westmoreland County is that we have a very aging population. We have in 2020, the estimate is that almost a third of the population is going to be 65 or older. So I'm assuming that you have a significant number of volunteers. How many people volunteer with RSVP?
I honestly don't know the number of volunteers because that varies widely. I do know that we work with 100 nonprofits in Westmoreland County.
Okay. And
it's always, it just depends on how many people are looking for opportunities. I don't actually have that number. I apologize.
No, that's fine. But how does RSVP work?
Well, basically, you just call the number, and I don't know, would you like me to give you that number now?
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
Just call this is for Westmoreland County, 724-925-4213, and you will get a nice lady called Amy Halula, who is the director of RSVP, and what she will do is send you an application and talk to you over the phone, and what that does is to kind of find out what your interests are and give you information about how the program works, and then she will talk to you, and based on all of the information that she has from all the volunteer agencies, then try to match you up with an opportunity.
What is involved in the application process?
It's just basic information about yourself and your interests. Nothing, there are obviously, depending on the volunteer opportunity, there's training and background checks and things like that. But the application itself is just basic personal information.
When they try to match the volunteers, is it like interest in, if you are interested in the food bank, that they match you with that, or is it just basically a matching for where the vacancies are?
Well, both, actually. I mean, obviously, if you're looking for an opportunity, I can't imagine that there are too many of nonprofits that don't have some openings for volunteers, because that's probably not the case. But obviously, if you have an interest in something, that's the best place for you. So they're going to, first of all, look to see what you're interested in, because that's where you're going to fit the best.
So why do the agencies, I'm guessing that it's because they are looking for volunteers, but why do most of the agencies work with RSVP?
Well, the agencies, there's no way that most of them, and I don't know if this is true, but probably all of them would not be able to exist without volunteers. And it's a lot of sometimes expensive and sometimes time-consuming to recruit. So RSVP is kind of the best way to do that, in that that's what they do, and there's no charge for it. It's a nonprofit of itself.
What is the process with the training, Linda?
Obviously, it depends on the opportunity. If you're going to the food bank and just going to be sorting cans, that would probably be on the job training. But if it's something like APPRISE or some of the other agencies that require some more information, then it's going to vary with that agency. So there isn't really any one-size-fits-all as far as training goes.
What if you are a volunteer with RSVP and you want to volunteer and you want to be active in the community, but you don't necessarily have transportation? Or is that something that RSVP helps to provide?
It depends on the agency. RSVP in and of itself would not provide transportation, but the agency, probably depending on the opening, and that may or may not be something that they offer.
You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. I'm your host, Chad Amond, president of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. We are talking with Linda Skodak. Linda is a volunteer with RSVP and actively in APPRISE, a program that we're going to talk about in a little while. But the RSVP, for those who are just tuning in, it's Retired Senior Volunteer Program. RSVP, Retired Senior Volunteer Program. Linda, what are some of the agencies that RSVP works with?
Well, there's very many, over 100, but I'll just name a few, and that would be the food bank, which I think everyone's familiar with.
Sure.
Meals on Wheels. We do tax preparation. There are classes through ARP driver safety. You can become a museum docent or Habitat for Humanity. I don't know. Yeah, I did say APPRISE. So a long list. And also, as a nonprofit, you can also contact RSVP if you're looking for volunteers and you haven't had any success finding them. They will, add you to the list if possible.
Okay. And is this a new program, or has RSVP been around in Westmoreland County for a significant time?
Since 1971.
Oh, wow. So, and an RSVP and APPRISE are connected in some way to Westmoreland County Community College, correct?
Yes, that's where the offices are located, and that's where the volunteers initially apply and sometimes work out of, depending on whatever they're working on.
So if you are listening and you are interested in being a retired senior volunteer program with RSVP, you can call 724-925-4213 and talk with Amy Halula. She is the executive director. But we're talking with Linda Skodak today. Linda, why do you think people want to become a volunteer when they're retired? I mean, isn't that the dream? When you retire, you don't have to interact, right?
Well, it depends on the person. I mean, there are some retired people that are perfectly contented being just retired.
Yeah.
However, I think the most people who volunteer find that there's a little bit of a void and they feel like they want something to do. Sometimes it's for the human connection, and that's also a great benefit of volunteering, that you meet a lot of other people with similar interest. There are actually statistics on the benefit to your health for volunteering. So it depends on the person, obviously, but there are many reasons why people want to become and stay active after they retire.
Yeah, I was just kind of kidding. I'm living it on the front line. My parents are retired, and my in-laws are retired, and they're working. They're probably busier than they were when they were working. But I think that whenever you get into the retirement phase, you don't want to sit home and watch Price is Right all day, right?
Well, maybe some days. Other days, there are things that you would rather do.
Well, we are talking with Linda Skodak. She is a volunteer with RSVP and APPRISE. When we get back, we are going to talk more in depth with the program that is APPRISE. You are listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. We'll be right back after these messages.
This is Westmoreland Community Connections on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. If you have a suggestion for a topic, or if your nonprofit organization would like to be featured on this program, call us during regular business hours at 724-216-1200.
Welcome back. You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. I'm your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. We are talking this morning with Linda Skodak. Linda is an active volunteer with RSVP. That is a program that is coordinated since 1971 from the community college in Westmoreland County. And RSVP stands for Retired Senior Volunteer Program. The RSVP program connects retirement-aged people with not-for-profit organizations to volunteer. Linda, before we went to the break, we were talking more about maybe the 35,000-foot view of RSVP. One of the programs under the umbrella of RSVP is APPRISE, and I, from the understanding that we've had before the show, you are very passionate about the APPRISE program. What is the APPRISE program? And tell the listeners why you are interested in it.
Well, APPRISE helps people understand Medicare, and that might sound like something that is easily, if you have not had to be on Medicare or you haven't been Medicare eligible, you might think, why is that important? But it is incredibly confusing whenever you have to make those medical decisions. So APPRISE helps people to make those decisions and just helps them to make an informed decision.
What are some of the struggles that I'm not of Medicare age right now, but it's going to be a few years. And what are some of the struggles that people are facing?
Well, most people, I shouldn't say most people, but many people who are on Medicare, that happens when you turn 65. There are also people who are on disability who are Medicare eligible. So we work with ages from 21 to, over 65.
Okay.
And it's when you have to make a medical decision about your insurance, it's always something that's very, very important because obviously that impacts you. But with Medicare, it's just not a real simple thing. There's so many choices and so many things to decide on. And so just to have the information is very valuable.
So how do you assist the people in understanding what I guess you call it maybe the Medicare maze?
That's a very good terminology for it. Basically, first you have to know about us. The word APPRISE is kind of it doesn't really say Medicare, so I don't think a lot of people know about us. And APPRISE, just so you know, doesn't really stand for anything. It's not an acronym like every other agency out there.
Or like RSVP, right?
Exactly. But APPRISE is just kind of the word, what it means, to inform. And basically that is our mission, to inform people about Medicare. So what we do is, first you have to know about us, obviously, and you call that number, the same number that you would actually call for RSVP, which is the 724-925-4213. And then many times you have to leave a message. And we have, we mentioned earlier, the director, Amy, who works with people who call in, and we also have a person who works directly with APPRISE, and she's our coordinator. Her name is Dorinda D. And she will call you back and answer any questions that you have. And a lot of times it's somebody new to Medicare and they just need information. Other times it's somebody who's already been on Medicare and they're just struggling with it wasn't a good fit for whatever they took, or it's just they're having some issues with their Medicare, so they call us for help on that.
So is this program provided free of charge? I mean, this seems like something that, obviously you would have to have a lot of training. I mean, my perspective is that you would have to have significant training. So are there charges that the people
No,
have?
there's no charge whatsoever. It's a free service, and it's also, even more importantly than that, it's an unbiased service. We have absolutely nothing to sell. So you'll find out once you get closer to Medicare age, and a lot of listeners out there know this, especially this time of year, there is so much, well, you just watch television and you will see all the ads for Medicare. The same as far as the mail goes. Every day there's just so many things you get on Medicare. So there's just so much information out there, but all of it becomes more and more confusing. So that's what happens when you're of Medicare age or close to it. And so we kind of help, like you said, the Medicare maids, we help people sort through that. But there's some other things that we do as well, because there are programs that people are eligible for sometimes as far as Medicare with help out there that they are not aware of. And we screen for all of the programs that somebody might be eligible for and help them to apply and to get on any help that might be out there for them.
You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. I'm your host, Chad Amond, president of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. We are talking with Linda Skodak. Linda is an active volunteer with a program that is facilitated from the community college called Retirement Senior Volunteer Program. And she is very passionate about the APPRISE program, which helps to educate people that are going on to Medicare to understand the Medicare maze. Linda, what are some of the primary struggles that you have seen that are the questions that people don't know how to answer when they go on to Medicare?
Well, first of all, the choices that you have. There are several choices. It's not just straightforward. Many times when people are Medicare eligible, they are already sent their Medicare card and they're signed up automatically. But that's just the very beginning. There are many other choices that they need to make. So we help them with those choices. And then also, as far as struggles go, probably the most common one you hear are with the medications. People are not able to afford their medication. So a lot of times people call us and they want to know how to, if they're eligible for a program that might help them, or maybe we can help them to get on a particular plan that would keep their medications more affordable.
How long has this program been around, and how are you working to make sure that the people, we talked about in the first segment that, Westmoreland County has a strongly aging demographic. How do people understand this? Obviously, we're doing the radio show that we're hoping that people will be better informed. But how long has the program been around? Who sponsors it? And how do people understand and know that this service is available in our community?
Well, hopefully this will help today, but also the program's been around since the 90s, actually, and still very many people are not aware. We are actually sponsored under Department of Aging, locally, obviously, under RSVP, and through the community college in Youngwood. But as far as we are constantly trying to get the word out about our program, and we are always attending senior fairs, looking for every opportunity. We will go to speak to a group. If you have a Rotary meeting and you need a speaker, we always are happy to go out and talk about the program. And also, we do a class at the community college, you actually see it in the catalog through the catalog that goes out for the community, to not for the credit programs, but for the other programs. That is a Medicare 101, and that is a class that you can take free of charge. You just need to sign up, and it will also let you know about everything that we do and help you to understand Medicare.
So some of the folks that are on Medicare and maybe they are struggling with understanding the program, I understand that there is a telecenter, it is statewide and a hotline. How does that work?
Well, that's a great question, because APPRISE, even though we're talking Westmoreland County, there is an APPRISE office in every county, and every state has a similar thing to APPRISE. They don't all call them the same thing. Most of them are called SHIP, SHIP, State Health Insurance Program, and Pennsylvania opted to call their program APPRISE. You talked about the telecenter, so we help at the community college through APPRISE, through our volunteers, which we have around 20 volunteers. And we man the telecenter, which is a state telecenter, line. Every Friday, we volunteer in the morning and the afternoon to answer questions. People call in all throughout the state just to ask Medicare questions. Again, very similar to the ones we deal with through the county. And there's a toll-free number that you can call. You can call the direct number for the one we gave earlier, or the telecenter number is 1-800-262-2103, and it will be answered by whatever county is answering the helpline that day.
With APPRISE, I would imagine, it's probably not necessarily going and filling boxes, and that's probably. I'm not discrediting the volunteers that go and fill boxes and things like that to volunteer with some of the other not-for-profits, but I would imagine that there is some. When you're talking about and educating people on Medicare, there is a lot more details. So how do you become a volunteer? What kind of training and time commitment? And do you have to be, your background is in banking. You're obviously a detail-oriented person. Are the people that are advising through APPRISE, are they, bankers and retired insurance agents and healthcare workers and things like that?
Well, actually, it doesn't matter what your background is. We do a very comprehensive training. Initially, you go through an online training and you get a certification based on just basic information, and then you spend time in the telecenter. And we have a 3-day in-person training as well. So you do have to become certified, and it does take a little bit of time, but you do it at your own pace. As far as the volunteer opportunities, now everybody doesn't work directly with the clients, because there are some people who really, that's not where they prefer to spend their time. We have people who do data input for us. We have people who just attend some of the health fairs and send out, talk to people at those type of events. And we have people who do some of the one-on-one counseling and volunteer at the telecenter. So there's a variety of different opportunities with the prize. And like I said, there's ongoing training. We have a lot of times speakers come in and talk to us from the county and from the Social Security Administration, and it's an ongoing learning experience.
So it is such a changing environment in the healthcare industry and insurance. What is happening now to the Medicare beneficiaries? What is going on right now? We're taping this show. It may change in the next week, but what is going on, and what is the current environment right now?
Well, there is a lot of uncertainty out there, and we don't really have any more information than you do as far as what's to come, obviously. What we do know is what the choices are now. And so people who, like we said, people who are new to Medicare, we can give you that basic information about how to make those initial really important choices. And then I'm sure you've heard about open enrollment, because that's a lot of the stuff that's out in the media right now, and that's something that we have a program to work with as well, because every year, just like any health insurance, changes come about for the following year. With Medicare, there is what we call that open enrollment period every year between October 15th and December 7th. You have the ability to change if you have an Advantage plan, or if you have a standalone drug plan, then you can change it for the following year. So that's also, we hold what we call annual comparison events. The people can come call us, make an appointment, and sit down with one of our volunteers to go over what are the changes for next year. And so we'll be starting that very shortly, and we will have information out about that.
If you want to, if you're a listener and you are struggling with your Medicare understanding, you can call 724-925-4213. That's 724-925-4213, and talk with APPRISE about what you can do better to understand and walk through your Medicare program. Linda Skodak, I thank you very much for being on the show. I will ask this question. What are you most proud of, and APPRISE and RSVP most proud of as far as impacting the senior community in our county?
Well, I think obviously there's a number of things, but I think the fact that we are totally unbiased and able to really help people free of charge to make a very, very important decision in their life about their future health care. That is probably our biggest claim to fame as far as APPRISE goes. And also with the volunteer program, that's something that we can really help people to enrich their lives with.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show. Thank you very much for your commitment to helping the community with RSVP, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, and APPRISE. Linda Skodak, thank you very much for your volunteer and being on the show. You've been listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. Join us next week, same time, same place, for another edition of Westmoreland Community Connections. Thanks for listening, everyone.
This has been Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings in and around Westmoreland County. Join us again next week on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB.